Okay, where to start? I'll start with I'm a lay consecrated household member. All right, so our community exists of different layers, if you want to put it that way, and so I'm part of the household, and that's the core of the community. I've always been, I think since the beginning that I came to the community, involved in Trinity TV. So that is one of my main ministries now. What I keep telling people who are searching or who are interested in a vocation, because some people think, if I follow God or if I give my life to God, then that means I'm giving up a lot. Yes, I know. So I always had a dream. I just always loved movies, still do. And I said, how can I get into that world? Some small person from Suriname. I thought I would never. I'm not in Hollywood, no, but I'm involved with Trinity TV. And there are many examples like this where I suppose God had placed the desire within me, and then eventually along the way, somehow it got materialized and fulfilled. And I think that's one way of listening to God too, and finding out what His will is. I think the things that are deep inside us, the passions and the things that we long for to do, the gifts that we have, they all have a purpose. And I think God uses them and will use them. But it is for us to explore, to be open to them, and to ask Him, hey, what do you want to do with this? I have this gift, and everybody tells me I have this gift. So what do you do? Now, when you come into community, there's a discernment process, though not only from the individual, but from the community side too. So they've placed me in different ministries. And I think because they see potential, and if not, they see, well, maybe this will help this person grow in that particular area that we see he needs growth in. So in my case, I think definitely adding me to Trinity TV has been one thing to bring out the potential that was there. The photography stems from since back home. My dad was a photographer, still loves photography, still takes pictures for the parish. But even before that, it was his hobby, and kind of adopted it as my hobby as well. So again, started with photography. Never in a million years thought I would be editing video and things like that. And so, whereas before, you're either the producer of a program, so that meant you called the shots and you switched, and you would have a camera people with you, whether they were manual cameras that we used to have, which we still do, but we used to have staff come in to also man cameras. And we had started with robotic cameras in our hall for mass and prayer meeting already, but that needed a separate camera person for the robotics. And now pandemic hit, and you had to do all of that, including bringing in titles, bringing in pictures for prayer meeting, different things, On top of that, also Zoom for some productions, because people couldn't come in the studio anymore. So we had to create a way to still produce, still have people add value and bring information, and share information of diocesan events, of different things. And so I became the Zoom manager and the Zoom operator for broadcasting, but also for our community events, because our community would still have Zoom meetings, because one of the things that community does is gather at least once a term. Okay, but the need is out there. People are out there, and I suppose God has made us into social beings. And so even ministry, I think, needs to be being in touch with people. And I was missing that because I was behind the screens most of the time. So I felt guilty that I wasn't out there with the people. And somebody consoled me by saying, yeah, but what you are doing and what you are producing is actually touching people in the region, not just Trinidad. What you are doing is bringing spirituality, is bringing the different programs that are being produced to the people at their home who are locked up, who cannot go out, who have restrictions, or who are afraid to go out because of the pandemic. So that consoled me a lot, and that helped me to just give my best in the productions and in what I did. So aside from that, so within the house you have your chores, all of that. I like to cook, so we supposed to have cooking days. We have busy lives, so yes, we do not like to waste. So we do also get food from our coffee shop if there's leftovers, take that home. But otherwise, we have food at home to cook, and I do like to cook. So it's either once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week. I suppose that's part of my creative side that likes to cook, but also I like my belly. It is quite nerve-wracking to cook in front of people in the coffee shop, especially if you're new to it. I remember there was a guy who gave me instructions on how to do his egg, and I was like, "Am I cooking? Do you want to cook?" But you can't be rude to customers. But yeah, I suppose it's just human to be anxious about making mistakes, and you don't want to make mistakes in front of people. You don't want the pot to fall or to spill something, or sometimes it happens, but you have to be humble and gracious about it and move on. As they say, it's not about falling down, it's when you fall down, it's how do you get up, how do you recover. And that's, in the scheme of life, that is just a small thing, right? Just move on. So that's one other thing that I do. On Thursdays, I do eggs on demand in our coffee shop. And then when needed, that's our community. When you're needed, you're called upon. If you have time to spare, you just ask and you help and you offer help where help is needed. There's always an area in the community, in this building, our center, at 109 Frederick Street, that would need help.
How are you going, Trent, my boy? Trent, my man! So, Trent, tell me, what do you do here? What is your role? What do you do?
My role here, basically, I'm the assistant station manager. And my role, it's a lot of functions, different roles I have, right? So, but the main role will be more or less administration for the staff. And then there's the production part of it, where I have certain duties in certain areas, in certain departments. Mm-hmm. So like one would be the IT area, transmission area, and a little bit of the programming area. So I more or less coordinate all the different departments and the area and the staff. The room that we are in right now is one of the key rooms where we broadcast to the social media, to YouTube and Facebook. And then I also do work in transmission area, which is another key part of transmitting the signal and making sure everything runs well, both in programming and from the technical part as well. And then I also, with the help of Mark and Juliet, help them with programming in terms of getting material, converting material, and putting it into the system. That's about it.
Wow. How did you started in this career? I mean, is this something you were doing before? Did you start everything in this place, or you started somewhere else?
Yeah. My background, I started in radio when I left school, and I went into advertising and into production. But at first it was basically in terms of understanding how advertising works in terms of the different areas they have. And I ended up in the production side of it. I became a producer of radio and television at 2 top agencies, and I spent about 10 years in both agencies. And then I more or less left there to go and do some coaching, football, because I love football. And my sister, who was a Living Water community.
That's Gina.
That's Gina.
Yeah.
She was a member there, so she had asked me to come and just help to oversee certain things. You know, at that time we were not getting into internet and to broadcast and that was like from 2009, around there, where I started to volunteer. Because a lot of people came into there volunteer. So I had like about 20 years experience in advertising and in production and doing commercials and doing documentaries and stuff like that. And I started to help them out, and then after a while I just decided to stay and help them.
Wow. And that's your origin story.
That's my origin story.
And do you do anything else? Are there other things you do, like in the church? You help out with the chapel sometimes, or?
Yes. Well, I became a associate member. I became an associate member of the community.
Oh,
so
nice.
So I'm literally part of the Water community. You know, as an associate member.
Fantastic.